Welcome to Video Game Compendium with your hosts Ian and Casey. Today we are going to be dancing. So what's your favorite band?
What the hell kind of question is that for a video game podcast?
Just hear me out. What's your favorite band?
Dude, I don't know. Band?
Yeah, like music band.
Group or band?
I guess I don't care. What's your favorite musical artist? How about that?
Dude, this is the hardest question.
The hardest question.
Seriously.
It is the hardest question. And actually, that's kind of why I asked the question. Because I knew it would be hard, and I knew you'd get all flustered about it.
Oh, well, job well done.
But it doesn't... It does show how music works. And, like, video game music, right, is amazing.
True.
A lot of the time.
Truth.
Some of the time it sucks. But a lot of the time, like, I can think of more good times I've had with video game music than bad times I've had.
So, when you asked me that question, part of the reason I froze up is because all I could think of were video game composers and soundtracks.
Well, like who?
Masafumi Takada, way up there on the list. As far as video game composers, I would have to go with him. How about you?
That's a tough question because I like a lot of music from video games.
Yeah.
Like, I would have to say that since he composed basically my favorite soundtrack of all time, Gustavo Santaolalla. I don't know how to pronounce his fucking last name, but it's close to that.
Did he do BioShock Infinite?
No.
No.
I don't know.
Oh, no, I'm thinking... Okay, never mind. Question retracted.
Yeah, he did just The Last of Us, I think, for video games.
Oh, The Last of Us. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he did anything other than that for video games.
All right.
He's doing The Last of Us Part 2, which that's how I already know the soundtrack is going to be amazing. But he does a lot of movies.
Okay.
So
really atmospheric type stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Makes sense. So when did you start to realize that video game music is not just a novelty?
When I was a wee lad.
A wee lad. All right.
A wee lad. Because
So we're talking about Duck Hunt? Is Duck Hunt?
See, it was when I actually remember have a thought process to video games, not just like I played them.
Mm.
So my first memory of really enjoying a soundtrack was probably Super Mario RPG.
Okay. Which
is why I have such a nostalgia boner for that game.
So, but to be fair, that game was shit, what am I trying to say? That game opened your eyes to many things, not just the music, right?
Right.
As far as what a video game can be and do.
My experience with video games up until that point was I played a lot of games, but a lot of them felt basic. Right. That was the first game that I really got into that felt advanced and had me questioning what was happening in the story and my love for the characters. Obviously, right. I have two of them tattooed on my arm. So it really changed my perception of what I thought video games were. But the music especially, because the music in that game is just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have the soundtrack or whatever published sound collection there is for Super Mario RPG?
On digital.
Digital. Physical?
No. I don't even know if they ever released a physical, but if they do release a vinyl of it, I'm about to get that.
All right, well, that's a given.
It's never going to happen.
Never say never.
It's never going to happen.
But it's never going to happen.
Probably not.
No. So when we first start realizing that video games have amazing soundtracks, the only way we can continue listening to those is by playing the games. Anything early 2000s and before, it's very difficult to find a sound collection or a soundtrack for.
Oh, an official one, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, game rips you can find, and those will suffice to a point, but it's hard to have like an emotional connection to a game rip. Not that it doesn't happen, but it's harder.
Right, I got you.
So, in the PS2 era, that's when, there were some really great soundtracks. But before that, you would have to try and find because they weren't being released in the United States, so you'd have to find an import, and then you'd have to pay shipping and import fees on top of whatever the sticker price was. And a lot of times, these are way more expensive than the game is itself.
Right, because, I mean, trying to get something from Japan only was usually a difficult task.
But even if you're in Japan and you want to buy them, these are $60, $80, $100 soundtracks for a game that costs between $40 to $60.
Well, I guess even recently, the Persona 5 soundtrack on CD is $50.
Still cheaper than the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, unless you get the...
And how many discs is it?
4 or 5?
Okay, that's pretty nice.
So I was wrong.
Okay.
The Super Mario RPG soundtrack did come out on CD.
Okay.
And this bitch is expensive.
How much are we talking?
Here, hit me with a guess.
I want to say over 400.
Yeah, you would be absolutely right.
If it's over 600, then this is just the land of make-believe.
No, it's ranging from $430 to $460 right now.
Okay, that's bananas. How many discs? 3?
1.
1 disc?
Yeah.
Get that nonsense out of here. You know what you do in that situation?
You buy it.
a little something called khinsider.com.
Yeah,
or it was .org, .net, .something.
That's why I have it downloaded, man. I ain't trying to mess with that $400.
I know. So as a way to kind of have your cake and illegally eat it too, I mean, if you're interested in listening to these compositions outside of the game, you're forced to go to sharing websites because realistically, me, especially at the time working a part-time job, can't afford every soundtrack that I have a connection with. Maybe one. I got one, and I played that thing, Space Channel 5.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard you say. Like, I love Space Channel 5, but I do not love the soundtrack, like, in a way that I would want to listen to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so there was a game store, Cartmart, or Video Game Depot. I now defunct or out of business, I believe.
Way defunct.
Yeah.
It's sad because that place was so good.
I know, because they actually did have some import stuff, and that's where I found that soundtrack, and saved up, bought it. Still an amazing soundtrack to this day.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard, though. Like, of all soundtracks to have, like, I would expect something, I guess, a little more well-known. You know what? Not from you. Not from you. No. That makes perfect sense now that I think about it.
Yeah, sorry.
You would have some weird-ass fucking game.
Typical me.
Typical you.
Yep.
I mean, I have so many soundtracks at this point on CD and vinyl, and then ones that I've downloaded or bought legally and downloaded.
Yeah. So, I mean, back on it now, a lot of these soundtracks are more affordable, but some of them have gotten just insanely rare, like Mario, and just really unattainable for most people.
Yeah, for the average consumer, yes, which is frustrating.
Yeah,
almost.
So this is the dark ages, I would say, of video game soundtracks.
Dark ages back then.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
So 2000s, early 2000s, and before. Yeah. It's just, I mean, it basically impossible to.
But was there? Okay, so I got a question.
Okay.
Was there any games that you didn't like, but still played because you liked the music so much? Space Channel 5. No, I'm joking,
no, dude.
But...
Space Channel 5 will always have a place in my heart. I love that game. Objectively, not the greatest game of all time.
No, not really.
But, man,
it's fun. Super fun.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great game. Okay, so games that have a good soundtrack but terrible gameplay, I'm not coming up with any. You must have some.
I mean, I have games that I would play that I enjoyed, but I didn't necessarily... I enjoyed the game, but I love the soundtrack, but I still enjoyed the game. I don't think there's ever been a time where I've disliked the game, but played it because the soundtrack was so good.
Yeah, that hasn't happened for me. There are games that have an incredible soundtrack that I don't want to listen to outside of the game.
Yes, that's a thing.
Example, go.
Um,
Quickly looks at shelf.
quickly looks at shelf. Because I have... So Xenogears. That soundtrack is great, and I love it. But I don't like listening to it outside of the actual game, because I feel like it lacks the context that it needs.
Yes.
And if that makes sense. Where
no. So number one on my list right now, Hotel Dusk.
Oh, I love that game.
It's such a good game. And I got Jen to start playing it, and I made her turn the volume up so I could listen to the soundtrack. And it's so good. It fits the game perfectly. But outside of the game, it's not great.
I would say Ace Attorney, but I've listened to that soundtrack so many times outside of the game that I can't accurately say that and be honest about it. But so, like, I guess in the later 2000s, like, as time progressed, they started including CDs with some games.
Yes, and this is huge. Real quick, I want to make one note about a PlayStation game that if you wanted the soundtrack to it, all you had to do was put the disc in a CD player.
Vib Ribbon?
Vib Ribbon worked? Well, Vib Ribbon wasn't released over here, so I didn't know that. Is that a thing?
I don't know. I thought it was, but go on. What game?
Street Skater.
On
PlayStation.
God. That
released 1999.
Terrible.
It had, I think, Less Than Jake or No Effects or something. I mean, if you wanted to listen to it, just pop it in the old CD player. There you go.
I mean, okay, that's a really cool feature.
It is. I don't know why it was a feature, to be honest.
To be honest with you.
And it's the only game I know of that works like that.
Yeah, I can't think of any others that would do that. I thought Vib Ribbon did, but I'm probably wrong about that.
Yeah.
But can we talk about the music in Vib Ribbon, though?
Sure, yeah.
Dude, that music is so wild. And it, like, every time I play it or, like, listen to the music from it, I'm like, God, this game is so, like, crazy.
It is
but
bananas,
I love it.
And it is incredible. All right, so getting back to the point you brought up of the PS2 is where I started seeing this happen a lot, and that's when the game includes a sound collection, which is basically a selection from the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So an audio CD bundled with the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's incredible.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a ton of them.
Yeah.
And by a ton, I mean a handful.
Yeah. Immediately, what comes to mind is Atlas. And
Atlas did it with almost all of their games since then, since the PS2. Actually, I think there was some Atlas PS1 games that had the soundtrack in it.
Really? Do you have an example?
No, that's why I went to go look on my shelf, and I couldn't think of any, but I vaguely remember that. I'll look it up right now. So tell me about some of these other games, though.
All right, so Atlas on PS2, Persona 3, Persona 4, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, Groundlancer Generations, I want to say. I think Groundlancer was actually in the limited edition.
Okay.
But
yeah, it was in the limited edition, not in the original. That's what I have.
Okay. But Atlas was putting these in with just the game. The first printing or just the initial release of the game would come with the CD. Guilty Gear did this. I'm not sure about Persona 3, 4, and Nocturne, if that was in the limited edition. Do you know? Or was that standard?
So, in 3, 4, and Nocturne, it was the first printing had it, but later printings did not.
Okay, but it wasn't part of a premium price edition.
No.
A limited edition. Okay.
No, it was the same thing.
And then they kept that train rolling on the DS when basically every game that they released came with a sound collection.
Right. So I'm trying to think. Darkspire,
Knights of the Nightmare.
Yeah.
The Etrian Odysseys. A couple of them.
Historia.
Strange Journey.
Yeah,
Strange Journey, actually, the disc that they packaged with the it didn't work at all.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you had to go to their website, I think, and enter in your address, and they would mail you a new CD.
That's so dope.
I know, right?
Can we talk about how awesome that is? Damn.
That's incredible. I have a non-working and a working CD from that whole thing that happened. And that is definitely one of my favorite soundtracks, if not my most favorite Shin Megami soundtrack.
Man.
Non-Persona.
Well, so Persona isn't necessarily part of the Shin Megami series, technically. They weren't supposed to be initially. But, I mean, Atlas has been doing that ever since. Like, their PSP games all had them.
Mm-hmm. Well,
if you got the first printing.
With Persona 1 and 2, yeah. But not with every PSP game. A lot of them.
Yeah, okay, a lot of them. And some of them, a lot of them, like, they gave us pre-order bonuses.
Yeah. Yep, Yakuza Reunion. I don't have that one. I wish I did.
Oh, man. Look at it on my shelf. I know. Pretty.
You're holding it up, showing it off. It's not right. But
they can't see it, though.
Yeah, no, they can't. And then, moving on to PS3 and Xbox 360.
Wait, hold up. We missed one, though.
Oh, what?
One that I actually remember.
Okay.
Shenmue. If you bought, it was considered a limited edition, but it wasn't really a limited edition. It came with a Shenmue jukebox in it, which had 6 or 7 tracks.
Yeah, I think, actually, so God Hand, a game that I always wanted to buy when I saw it on shelves because of the ridiculous artwork. I had no idea what the game was about, but the box looked great. And I found the sound collection. They did a jukebox, which is, basically just throwing the audio tracks. It's basically a game rip, but an official one. And so I got a hold of that, and I listened to that, and that soundtrack is banging. So I picked up the game and had a blast with it. So that is one example of finding the soundtrack first and then adopting the game.
That's fair.
You have any of those?
Well, so when the God of War Ascension first trailer came out, it played this Ellie Goulding song, and I loved it. I was like so on board, and the trailer was so emotional, and the music was so good, and I was like, "Damn, this is so awesome!" And then the game was just mediocre, but it was it was still like I still remember watching that trailer for the first time and like hearing the music.
Was that song in the game? No, it was just in the trailer.
Yeah.
Dude, you got false advertised.
Yeah. Super false advertising.
Super false advertising. So yeah, the PS2 and the DS stuff, I think that was late 2000s that Atlas really got that ball rolling. Nipponichi did it as well. I think you mentioned Artonelico 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I don't have those, but you're telling me that those came with the soundtrack, which is awesome. So
there was a couple others too that they did that if you got like the limited edition, which was the same price, but you had to buy it like when it first came out.
Yeah.
It came with the soundtrack.
Awesome. What was that? Brave Fencer
Musashi?
No. That's it. There was another Nipponichi game. Anyway, I can't remember what it is.
Soul Nomad?
No, it had a blue hair boy on it. I thought it was Brave something.
Phantom Brave, that's the one. I think that one came with the soundtrack in like the first group that got shipped out. Now that I'm thinking about it, yes, you're correct.
Anyway, so pretty niche publishers at this point are adopting this. We'll give them the soundtrack with the game.
But, I've noticed that these niche games are the ones that usually have the best music.
Yeah.
Like, granted, like, there are AAA games that have great music. Even the original Halo had great music.
Yes.
And it's hard to argue that, but a lot of these, like, niche titles or, like, indie games even have great music.
Yeah. So, somewhere early 2010, indie developers found out that music is more important than what they can slap together. And so they started basically contracting composers to write music for their game.
Right. And they would be able to keep their own, like, the rights to their music.
Yes. And
they would allow the, I guess, game developers to use it in their game.
Yeah, they would reach some agreement where the music is in the game, but the composer retains the ownership of the tracks, and they are free to sell or distribute or do whatever they like with them. And that was pretty huge, I think, for paving the way to where we are now with game soundtracks.
And, well, because I remember, like, what the fuck?
Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, yes, that is exactly what I was thinking of.
Is it?
Yes.
Because
you know?
Because that was an incredible soundtrack. I love it in the game. I love it outside of the game. I bought it digitally as soon as I could. And then the composer, Danny Baranowski, released a physical 2-disc, 2-CD set for it. And I got that. And
wait, you said you only had one game soundtrack?
No, I'm saying I only bought one.
Oh, back in
the dark age. Yeah, no, dude, I have
game soundtrack.
Way too many right now. Way too many.
I have a bunch of
and by that I mean not enough.
No, that's the same way.
Yeah, so the indie scene on PC, we had some really good composers, like 2011, 2010, 2012. C418 did some really good stuff. Like I mentioned, Danny Baranowski. He's done a couple other games. I think he did Binding of Isaac too. And Soul Eye did V, which I think if you like chiptune, that soundtrack is non-stop fun times.
Jake Kaufman, who did the Shovel Knight soundtrack,
yeah,
that was a really cool soundtrack.
Definitely, and he went and marketed his. So a lot of times they were just putting these up on Bandcamp, and you could pay $5.
Yeah.
So much different than it was when you had to try and import some CD from Japan that was already more expensive than a game. Like, it's just night and day.
Well, okay, so Bandcamp is better than what Steam started to do with their soundtracks.
Oh, man. Okay, yeah, let's talk about Steam. So,
and how terrible it is, you mean?
Yeah, so what's the first game you remember seeing a soundtrack for on Steam? Oh, wait, you got into Steam late, didn't you?
Yeah, I got into Steam late in the game, but I recognized immediately how they handled it, and I always thought it was so shit.
It is absolute garbage.
So, basically, if you don't know, it's treated as a form of DLC to the game, and not only is trying to play it like a nightmare, but trying to find the files is a bigger nightmare.
Yeah. So
it's almost not even worth it.
No, it's the worst platform to try and sell music on.
Yeah.
Like if you search Steam soundtrack, there's like the top 50 hits on any search engine are how do I find my Steam soundtrack?
How do I find my fucking files so I can listen to my music? God.
So when the indie scene composers were putting their music up on Bandcamp, that's when Steam was like, oh yeah, we're trying to do DLC. Maybe this is another thing that we can sell as DLC and make money off of. So the first game that I remember having a Steam soundtrack for as like an additional download was Bastion.
Yeah. Oh man, what a good soundtrack.
I know, so good.
So good.
I will admit, I did buy it through Steam because I bought the game through Steam anyway. Yes. Yes.
I have this nice CD right here.
You have?
Actually, oh man, I'll get to that. Okay. I have the CD though.
Okay.
I have the CD, and it's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Sorry, go on.
That one, I mean, it's definitely worth trying to find your stupid files on your local drive when you download it through Steam. But man, it's the worst. So, like I said, this was early 2010s. As far as I can tell, the actual first game to do this on Steam was Frozen Synapse. It's $6 for
the soundtrack.
Digital DLC, digital soundtrack through DLC, and this came out June 16th, 2011, and then Sanctum did it as well, $5, August 11th. So that's June, July, August. That's 2 months after the first one, and then Bastion also did it August 16th, 2011. But like all of the big indie hits of this time started having the soundtrack available as well. Jamestown, Braid, Machinarium. That one actually came with a digital art book as well. That was in November of 2011 as well. So
I've never known how to pronounce that game's title until just now.
Oh, I think it's Machinarium.
Well, like that would make sense, but like I've never heard it be said until just now.
Oh. I don't know if I've heard anyone say it either.
Right, but
that's how I say it in my head, so Machinarium.
I think it's like one of those niche titles that like not enough people know about.
Yeah. No, it's a really fun, charming as heck point and click adventure that doesn't really feel like a point and click adventure. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Super fun. Yeah, around that big indie boom, early 2010s.
I think the first like indie game that I really got into that also had good music actually was Braid, and you were just talking about that.
Yep. Yeah, Braid was one of these big hits.
That game soundtrack was super solid.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Do you listen to Braid outside of playing the game? The soundtrack?
Yeah. Really? I have several times. It was one of the things where I finished playing it, and I remember the music just being very whimsical, I guess. And so I wanted to listen to it outside of the game to see if it was good. And I really enjoyed it.
Do you know who composed the soundtrack to Braid?
Jamie something?
Okay. Yeah, Jamie Sieber?
Yeah.
Sieber? So, Can you imagine how Braid would be if Jonathan Blow decided that he was going to one-man army the entire game and also do the soundtrack? Totally different game. Totally different game.
From what it looks like there was more than one artist, but Jamie really? Sieber and Shira Kamen are the two that I could remember.
Okay, so indie games learned a big lesson by getting other people to write their music. Oh man, Dust Force,
Jesus, that!
Oh my gosh,
so that came out on vinyl.
Yeah,
and I was so excited when I played that game for the first time, and I listened to the music. I was just like, dude, this music is hype as hell.
Yeah.
This game is super dope, and this music is super dope.
Yeah. I got into it for the game. I thought the gameplay looked amazing. Like, combo system, speed running platformer. Heck yeah, sign me up. And then the soundtrack, oh my god.
It was hotter than my mixtape.
Dude, it's hot. It's hotter than the sun.
So, a lot of games now, post 2015, are getting released on vinyl.
Right. So yeah, that's where we are in the, I want to say Silver Age. I don't know if it's the Golden Age yet.
I would say we've hit the Golden Age at this point.
You think so?
Because you can get most soundtracks on CD, you can get most soundtracks digitally now, and now we're getting them on vinyl, which should excite everyone, but probably only excites a bunch of hipsters.
Like you.
I would say at this point we've hit the Golden Age. Now I'm just afraid of what's going to happen next. And you can see glimmers of it through the way that some of these releases are done, especially like vinyls, where licensing is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So to start off, because I'm going to rant about vinyls for like an hour here.
All right, go for it. Hipster.
Starting off, companies like I Am 8-Bit have been doing a lot of vinyls and a lot of soundtracks for games, and I think like 2 movies or something like that. The Nice Guys, which was a great movie.
Oh yeah, the random as hell.
Also, the inside of that record has a naked woman.
Yeah,
with 3D glasses.
That was the poster from in the movie, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But okay, so I Am 8-Bit has been doing these game soundtracks, and they started off with like older games or a lot of indie games because they did like Bit Trip Runner and Super Hexagon.
Another Terry Kavanagh game. He's the one who also did the V. Yeah.
V6 times, whatever.
Yeah.
They also did Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark, Battletoads. So they've done a lot of shit. And they actually did one for the release of Res Infinite.
Oh, really? Okay.
And they also paired it with a physical copy. Well, they didn't pair it, like you didn't get them together, but you could also buy a physical copy of Res Infinite from them as well.
Oh, wow.
So that was really cool. And they're also doing like the soundtrack for Cuphead, which isn't even out yet, which kind of makes me nervous because it's like, I don't know what the music sounds like. From the trailer, I have high hopes.
Yeah.
But is it really going to be that good? Plus, it's 4 discs.
That is shocking.
Right?
I mean, I understand that this game is going to have insane production values because they've been working on it for so long and they have really talented people. But 4 discs?
Right.
Wow.
It's insanity. However, they're releasing the Persona 5 soundtrack on vinyl, which is going to have, if you were lucky enough to get the deluxe edition, it was 6 discs.
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
All 110 tracks.
Does it come with the sound files for like, wah, wah?
No, but I will tell you something about that in a little bit when I get there. I don't think so. It just says that it comes with all 110 songs on 6 discs. And then something to note about that, and this is kind of why I think we're in the golden age, the deluxe edition sold out in about 24 hours.
Why did it take so long?
There was 1,000 units and $175 a piece, and it sold out in 24 hours.
So this, and I know you have more to get to on the what's going on right now, but this is what concerns me, is that they've become too marketable.
They've become too powerful.
No, so what I liked about the digital era with the Bandcamp thing, it was...
You like digital, though.
No, that's not it. I like affordability, and I like easy access to something I want. And it came from the composers going, yeah, I can make some money off this, and if people want it, great. But what it's starting to turn into with these third parties printing all these vinyls is, I mean, it's going to be a bubble, and eventually it's going to pop. Like everything, every stupid thing is going to have a vinyl because vinyls are hot and you can make money if you sell. Because of these Persona numbers, people are going to think that anyone will buy anything that's on vinyl if it's a soundtrack.
I don't think so, though, because they have other ones that have 1,000 units and they haven't sold out after being up for months now.
Okay, that's a good sign. I mean,
would say that speaks
unfortunate for those records, but that's a good sign.
I think that speaks more for how good the Persona 5 soundtrack was.
Okay.
Though, to be fair, if they released like a Persona 4 soundtrack on record, I'd be snatching that up like hotcakes.
That I feel like that would sell faster than Persona 5.
It might. And I would, honestly, I think we established this one of our last episodes, but Atlas fans are willing to buy games. And they're willing to buy shit that's related to those games.
That's true. And they're willing to buy and watch crappy anime that have nothing to do with Persona 3.
And I'm guilty of all those things. And ask me how much I actually care.
It's very little.
Or have shame
for that.
Shame. No shame.
No.
No shame whatsoever. So, back on topic.
Okay, yeah. So,
I'm 8-bit's been doing this a lot. What'd you have to say?
I was just say thank you for correcting my fear that this is going to end badly.
Yeah, well, I think it's more because people are wanting vinyl right now. They want records because they like the sound, they like the way it plays,
they like being
et cetera,
hip,
etc. Yeah, I mean, I like being cool as shit. You know, I got my record player over there, my speakers. I just throw a record on and then just like sit back and play games on my phone or something and just listen to music.
Come on, oh god, that's disgusting.
Why?
Don't play games on your phone.
Oh,
you have
okay.
a Vita, you have a DS.
Hey,
put them
to be fair,
use.
but if I'm playing a game, then I want to listen to the soundtrack in the game.
You can play some Yokai Watch Busters.
Dude, fight me, bro.
I will.
I just play like Marvel Puzzle Quest on my phone.
God,
I'm still on that.
Oh,
anyway,
you got Farmville. You got Farmville on there too.
No,
casual,
I don't play Farmville.
You filthy casual.
What? No. What is this Farmville?
All right, let's
shit?
get back on track.
Okay.
Records. Hyperlight Drifter. Come on.
That. Oh yeah, dude. That box set looks so pretty. Also by I Am 8-bit.
Yep. I don't have a record player. I was tempted to buy it because man,
Whoa.
that's a pretty release right there.
Yeah, and like, I love the way they did each disc a different color.
Yep.
In a neon style, and the packaging itself was really cool too. How it folded out to be like a arrow.
Yeah, that was really cool. So, who else is putting these vinyls out, and what's their demographic? So,
Data Discs does a lot of Sega, and by a lot of I mean it's basically all Sega related games.
Pretty much exclusive.
And so you asked if they had sound bits. Streets of Rage 2, the soundtrack I have on vinyl. When you play it, when you get to the end of the first disc on side B, it has a locked groove that plays the sound, plays a sound from the game, and it just repeats it over and over and over.
Oh, that's beautiful. What sound?
Well, it's one of Axel yelling.
Do it for me.
And so, I'm not going to do it.
Do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Come on.
So, you get to the end of the... Actually, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it once. Maybe a couple times. One time I was playing it, and I went to the other room to grab something, and then I could tell the music stopped, and then all of a sudden I hear... Eotata! 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 And I was like, what the fuck is that? So I walked back into there, and I noticed that it was stuck on the same spot, and I was like, there's a fucking lock groove here, and this is killing me. This is absolutely killing me.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, I laughed at it for a little bit. But so they specialize in Sega. And like they've done Streets of Rage 2, Outrun, Golden Axe 1 and 2, Gunstar Heroes.
Oh man.
Gunstar
Heroes.
I just bought that soundtrack.
Dude, good for you. Because Treasure soundtracks, love them. I love them. I don't listen to them outside of the game as much, but man, they always complement the game so well.
Yep, it's one of those ones that I probably wouldn't listen to it outside the game, but like when I'm in the game, it's super great to listen to. Streets of Rage doesn't have that. Streets of Rage, I want to listen to it a lot because it's a great soundtrack. Hey, when you come over next, we can listen to Gunstar Heroes.
That sounds good. I will. I'll bring my phone and I'll install some crappy mobile game on it so we can listen to good music and chill.
That'll be the new thing for all the hip dates. Good music, video game music, and chill.
Sign me up.
Then you got companies like Ship to Shore Phono Co. who specialize in all sorts of different shit. They have like some movies, some games. They've also released a couple like just artist soundtracks. Or not artist soundtracks, just artist albums. That's what I meant to say. But they've done some really solid releases. Like they did Mother and Mother 2, aka Earthbound. And they did the Snatcher soundtrack, which is incredible.
Oh man. I want to play that game. I want to listen to that album.
If you've never listened to the Snatcher soundtrack, I would highly recommend it because that soundtrack is phenomenal.
Okay.
They also did Darius, which I know you like a lot.
Oh man, dude, the Darius soundtracks are so good. That's another actual physical soundtrack that I own is G Darius.
So they partner with they partnered with Limited Run Games to release a exclusive variant of Darius and an exclusive variant of Night Trap when that comes out from Limited Run Games.
Oh, wow.
So they're going to be like different colorways for the record. And
cool.
Snatcher, they did the same thing with the Yeti, that t-shirt site.
Yeah. See, so let me interject again. That's where it's starting to get weird, is you have these apparel merch sites starting to get in on the record business. Kind of weird to me.
Yeah, but the Yeti, to me...
No, they're pretty legitimate. They have some really good stuff, and they work with the small publishers to get their stuff out there, which is great. It's just, you have these established players focused strictly on releasing vinyls, and then like other people joining the market isn't a bad thing, but it could be a slippery slope.
I guess, but I love soundtracks.
Okay.
And I love them on record, so I'm gonna keep buying them.
That Snatcher colorway that they have, that red with the black spots.
Oh my god, it's so pretty.
So dope.
So pretty. I love that soundtrack. So they've been doing that for a while, because actually Mother was one of their first releases for Ship to Shore. Space Lab 9 is another company that does them, and they do, I would say, more AAA games than anything.
Really?
Yeah, they've done like Far Cry Primal, Tom Clancy's The Division. You know, you have to say Tom Clancy's The Division.
Why?
I don't know. You just do.
No, you just say The Division.
No, you say Tom Clancy's The Division.
No, you say The Division.
No. Anyway, they also did the Fallout 3 and 4 soundtracks. And the Fallout 4 soundtrack, it was like a big box set that they did, was super good.
Okay. So
it was... Oh. What? Go ahead.
So that just reminded me, BioShock Limited Edition, didn't the BioShock Limited Edition have a vinyl record in it? Like, I want to say over 7 years ago.
BioShock 2.
BioShock 2.
Yep. I've never opened mine.
Really?
I really want to, though.
What if it's got a huge crack in it?
Then I'd be sad.
Yeah.
I would be very sad.
Yeah,
That'd piss me off.
You should be.
I'd go online and buy one. I'd be like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm buying this.
Why haven't you opened it? You have a record player. Now. You didn't when you bought it.
Right. But I wanted the collector's edition because it was a badass collector's edition.
Yeah. I remember,
just haven't opened it.
I did give you crap because there was a record in there and you didn't have a record player. It's like, why are you buying this?
Because the rest of the shit was cool in it. God, why are you a hater?
I know, I'm a hater. But 5+ years later, you have a record player and a bunch of other video game soundtracks on vinyl. I didn't see it coming. I'm just going to say I didn't see it coming.
You'll never see it coming.
You'll never see it coming.
Mondo has done a couple video game soundtracks, and actually probably my favorite ones so far.
Okay.
They've done...
What are we talking about?
The Last of Us.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't just the main soundtrack and then that was it. They also did the secondary soundtrack that included all the music that he did for the DLC.
Oh.
So it was a 4-disc set that was just amazing.
Did that one have sound bites in it?
No.
Oh.
That'd be weird to have. What the,
I know.
What's wrong with you?
I want them to release the Pokemon Red and Blue soundtrack on vinyl. So you have to find the groove for like each specific Pokemon cry.
That would not be. That would be ridiculous. They did release Killer Scratches, which was sound effects from Killer Instinct.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and it's on a scratch disc so that you can
do
the wiki wah.
Wow. Could you sound whiter, please?
Wiki wah.
Okay, that was whiter.
But they are releasing a Pokemon soundtrack. I Am 8-Bit is.
Okay.
From Gold and Silver.
Not bad.
But no, Mondo's done The Last of Us, which that was the first video game soundtrack I owned on record. And it was actually the reason I bought a record player.
Huh.
100%.
But that was after BioShock.
Yeah.
You said it was the first one that you owned.
Well, okay, the first one that I bought that was by itself, just a soundtrack.
Okay, alright, sorry.
Don't be a bitch.
I'm sorry.
Mondo has also done... They're doing the Castlevania series.
Uh-huh.
They're up to Super Castlevania 4, and it sounds like Symphony of the Night is going to be next.
Nice.
They've also started the Silent Hill series, which is incredible. I have the first, the one that they released already, which is just Silent Hill, and it sounds amazing, and I love it.
So these are not just the game rips. Are these like remastered or... Well, like these orchestral ones, are they re-performed and recorded or what?
So to really get it, they actually, a lot of the time, will get the original sound files and remaster them so that they're fit for vinyl, so that it's optimal sound quality.
Okay.
Versus, like, when you master it for, like, digital, it's going to be a different mastering process. And that's how they go through pretty much all these soundtracks, is this process. And actually, if you got the Persona 5 soundtrack from I Am 8-Bit, they are going to be doing updates about the actual release, and they'll be showing the mastering process and the printing process. And yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
That's pretty nice. Pull back the curtain.
Right.
See what's going on.
The only reason I don't think vinyl will ever blow up like you're saying is there's only a limited amount of plants left that print. And when they get full, they're full. And people are stuck waiting. So they're not going to release a bunch of soundtracks that they are going to have to wait years and years and years to put out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what's forcing these companies to be more selective with what they're doing. Also, in a lot of cases, they have to pay for the licensing of the music in order to get it on vinyl. And so that's going to hinder them from just getting it from wherever they want.
Fair enough.
In the case of data discs, I'm sure they have they probably have an agreement with Sega to do a lot of their games.
Yeah, interesting. So how's Nintendo looking? You said that they are releasing a Pokemon soundtrack on vinyl. Yep.
And it's not the original soundtrack, though. That's my only disappointment with it, is it's orchestral of the soundtrack.
Okay.
And they did the same thing for Zelda, and it's like a compilation of a bunch of Zelda songs, but it's all orchestral, not the original sound bites.
Interesting plan. How do you feel about that?
The music sounds cool, so I'm not like too disappointed, but at the same time, it leaves me wishing that they would just release the soundtracks, the original soundtracks, because back in the day, or actually, like it was like the 90s, the early 90s, I think, they did records for Mario and Donkey Kong.
Get out.
There's official records for those.
What?
I swear.
Okay. That's news to me. I did not know they did that. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we had like Superman Returns and, Batman on like the movie soundtracks on records, but I had never seen a video game soundtrack from that era on vinyl.
They didn't really exist that often, but there was a Mario one and a Donkey Kong one, and there was a couple other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. By the way, did you know there's an official Persona 4 dancing
vinyl
record? Yeah.
Dude, I'd be on board with that.
It's yellow. It's really cool.
It should be Disco Ball.
Well, so picture discs are known for having inferior quality.
Yeah.
But I have a couple picture discs. Like, I actually have the Fallout 3 and 4 soundtracks from Space Lab 9 that are picture discs. So that's, I mean, to me, it's pretty cool.
Fun fact. You know, putting a picture on the other side of a CD doesn't impact the sound quality.
Yeah, but it's digital.
Okay. What are you trying to say? The sound quality's already been impacted?
Yeah.
I know.
I know. So, I guess to wrap up, let's just go back and forth and name some of our favorite soundtracks.
Okay. You start.
Super Mario RPG.
Oh, okay. You already mentioned that one. No More Heroes. First.
Nope.
Oh my god. 4 discs.
It's a great soundtrack.
Yes. Can't stop listening to it.
Transistor.
Ah, Super Meat Boy. One I already mentioned.
Streets of Rage. The entire series.
The entire series. Bayonetta 1. Because I think that's more discs than Streets of Rage, the entire series.
Persona 5, definitely. And 4. And 3.
Yeah, Persona 3.
The Persona series. I take that back.
All Persona the Personas. Series. All the, including the Night Dances. God Hand. Oh man. Check it out.
Metroid Prime.
Yes.
Metroid Prime soundtrack was so good.
So good. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy. That one actually... No, so this circles back to the beginning. That's one where the soundtrack was better than the game.
I like Crisis Core a lot, though. It gets shit on sometimes, but I really enjoyed that game.
I absolutely loved playing through it when it first came out. I tried to play it again 2 years ago, and I could not get more than 2 hours into it. I was like, this game is not aged well. I don't know why.
One thing I will mention is I like most rhythm game soundtracks. Poppin' Music, DDR, Guitar Man.
Luminous.
Yeah, if it's a rhythm game at all, I'm down with it.
Yeah.
But I also love rhythm games, so I'm kind of biased in that sense.
So you can see where I'm coming from with Space Channel 5.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it. I'm not saying it's something that I would listen to outside of the game,
Fair
but
enough.
I love rhythm games.
Man, I want to go listen to that right now, to be completely honest with you.
If only I could end on, like, just a clip of Space Channel 5's music.
Dude, throw some of it in there.
You didn't say Strange Journey again.
I was waiting for you to give me another one. I just said Space Channel.
Oh, okay. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Strange Journey, definitely.
Strange Journey.
Absolutely. Guilty Gear. Any of the Guilty Gears. All the Guilty Gears.
Yes.
Oh, man. How did we not?
How did we forget that?
Oh, the best soundtrack to come with a PS3 game, Blaze Blue. 2-disc soundtrack.
Yeah, but that game was kind of meh. Soundtrack was better than the game.
Soundtrack was better, way better than the game. Fair enough.
Kingdom Hearts. The Kingdom Hearts soundtrack was really good.
Really? I'll take your word for it. Basically any top-down shooter.
That's a biased opinion.
No. Okay,
All the Zelda games.
Okay, that's a biased opinion.
Zelda games?
It's the same song like 100 million times. Come on.
Pretty much every Final Fantasy game has good soundtrack.
Yeah, that's true. Dissidia, I didn't like. Across the board.
I don't know about that game. Though they are making a PS4 version, which looks pretty tight. I might be on board with it. You should look up the trailer for it.
I really wanted to like that game. I did play it for quite a bit, but it's not a good game.
You know, like, I feel like if people listen to this, they're going to flame us.
You know...
Does anyone say flame anymore? They're going to yell at us. They're going to yell at us for not saying their favorite game soundtrack.
See, that's part of why I wanted to do this at the end, is because we would like for you all to reach out to us on Twitter or any way, so we know that people are actually listening, and and so we can know that our opinions are correct and that everyone who listens to us is wrong. So go ahead and tell us how you feel, and it would be greatly
appreciated. What's the Twitter?
VG Compendium. At VG Compendium.
At VG Compendium.
And you set us up with a Facebook?
Facebook. Video Game Compendium on Facebook.
All right. And we got a YouTube's now, too.
which is insanely hard to find, and we don't have a short link for it yet, so we're working on it.
Okay. Follow us on Twitter, and you can find that out. And if anyone listens to us through iTunes, you can subscribe or leave a review if you want to.
We're going to get so many bad reviews.
I know. It's all right. At least we'll know that people are listening. Oh, shit. Can you hear that?
Hear what?
Okay, never mind. Let me try. I was taking a shit, so she's banging on her litter box right now. So I don't do this in the living room.